What's goody? Hey man, so a lot has been going on in the sports world recently, especially in the NFL world. Like a lot that you wouldn't necessarily expect with the NFL world now that like the season's over, but we're not really deep into the offseason or anything like that. Draft hasn't happened or anything like that. So you wouldn't expect for there to be a whole bunch of stuff to talk about with the NFL especially, right? Well, you'd be wrong if you would think that because so reports came out, I believe it was the morning of the Super Bowl, if not it was the day before the Super Bowl that the Saints are expected to hire. Why can't I remember this man's name right now? Kellen Moore. The Saints are expected to hire Kellen Moore, Philly's offensive coordinator, to be their new head coach. Now, this is something I didn't talk about a ton in my Super Bowl prediction. In fact, I don't even know if I mentioned it at all, but it is something that, like, it goes back to something we talked about a few weeks ago with Ben Johnson and the Lions, right? Where I am simply not a fan of coaches taking jobs and basically having other jobs lined up while your season's not over, while you're still in the playoffs or the regular season. I don't care if your team is 0-15 and there's only a few weeks left, or if your team is the 1 seed and you're about to go out there and do what the Eagles did and win the Super Bowl, even though they weren't the 1 seed. I don't, like, you understand what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't care what you. I just feel like that rule needs to be changed. I just feel like it's not like college, right? Like, it's not like you need to get there. You have to recruit. You have to build your team. You have to build your staff. You have to look at everything. You don't have to do that. This is not college. In the NFL, your team is your team. Sure, you're going to make some moves in the offseason. You might make a trade. You're going to draft somebody, 1,000% sure. But I just don't get why it isn't a rule that in the NFL, coaches can't, I guess, interview for other jobs until their season is over, because I just kind of feel like it undermines the game a little bit. I feel like it was something that was even talked about on the broadcast, was like how Kellen Moore was already basically locked up to have that job and everything like that before the game even started, before their season's over. And it was the same, Lions fans had the same issue with Ben Johnson. Now the difference is Kellen Moore didn't let it impact him. Their team went out there and scored 40 points on one of the best teams and defenses in the NFL, right? So it didn't change Kellen Moore's play calling, and it didn't change the way that he coached or his effectiveness at coaching. And I honestly don't necessarily believe that it changed Ben Johnson's either. Like I said in that video when we talked about Ben Johnson, I just kind of believe that was more of a Jared Goff being asked thing and your defense being asked thing than it was a Ben Johnson being asked thing. Was the play call for Jameson Williams probably a little stupid? Yeah, but that's also what got y'all there. So if you're a Lions fan, I don't think you can really complain too much about that play call, because without play calls like that, you never make it there. It's the same thing that happened last season in the NFC Championship, where you go forward on fourth, even though you probably shouldn't have. But it's like you can't really be mad at that, because that's like what you do. That's like your identity. So I'm not really mad at that. But for the Saints, I'm not sure how I feel about this hire, because Kellen Moore is obviously a great offensive mind. He did great things with that Dallas offense when he made Dallas absolutely pass heavy, and then he did some great things with the Eagles offense, where this year he transitioned from a guy that was completely focused on the pass game to now you have a running back winning offensive player of the year under his system. So he has shown that, okay, he can adapt based on what his team has and what his team needs and what his team will be most successful with, right? Which is a great thing. That's a phenomenal thing to be able to show. To show a new team, to show a new franchise and everything like that. And another thing is that, like, recently mostly offensive-minded coaches have been winning the Super Bowl. So I'm not really ever going to complain too much about an offensive-minded head coach hiring, unless it's a head coach that I just don't believe deserves the job, or a head coach that I just like, you know what I'm saying, something like that, or a head coach that I just don't like, something like that. So if I'm a Saints fan, I'm pretty happy about this hire. I mean, things haven't been great in New Orleans for a while. Dennis Allen was ass. I believe Dennis Allen was your coach last year. Let me just go ahead and check that real quick. But I believe Dennis Allen was the coach up until. Yeah, but I don't care about all that. Coach the New Orleans Saints from 2022 to 2024. That's what I thought. So yeah, I mean, it's not like Dennis Allen was the worst, but he also wasn't anything special. He wasn't anything great. I don't think he did anything really good there. I think the team was a team that should have at least had some playoff aspirations, and I feel like last year they just didn't have that. Like, I thought last year they should have been competing for that NFC South, and they really didn't. It was really just Tampa and Atlanta, and then it ended up being just Tampa. So like, the NFC South wasn't great last year. The Saints should have been a team that were able to take a little bit of advantage of that. They didn't. I think the firing is not a bad idea at all. I'm not mad at the firing, and I'm not mad at this hiring at all. I like this hiring if I'm a Saints fan. I like that you have an offensive-minded head coach in there. Try to get some offense in there, because offense hasn't been a great thing in New Orleans for a little bit now. And the Saints still have a lot of problems. Don't get me wrong. Derek Carr is still their quarterback. Like, I don't know what they're doing. I couldn't tell you what the Saints are thinking right now. But having a good head coach is never something that can be overlooked, and I believe that Kellen Moore could end up being a good head coach. Do I necessarily see him as a leader of men? don't know. I don't know. But his offenses have done some pretty impressive things, so it would be idiotic for you to say, oh, okay, he doesn't deserve a shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the very least, I think we can all agree, based on what he did with Dallas's offense and then how bad Dallas's offense looked since he left, and then what he did with Philly's offense, especially this year, proving that he doesn't need to have a pass-heavy system to win. He can run the ball, too, when he has a good running back. Now, you could take that with a grain of salt and say, well, obviously the running game was great. He had Saquon Barkley and a good O-line. Valid, very valid. I'm not saying that he's going to find that same success in New Orleans, but, like, it's good signs is all I'm saying. Now, some more NFL news. Deebo Samuel tells ESPN's Adam Schefter, this was a few days ago, that the 49ers have granted him permission to find a trade partner. So it seems like after the 49ers had a disappointing season last year, they're going to have to make some decisions, right? Like, I think Brock Purdy's getting paid this offseason, or at least I think he's due to get paid this offseason. Deebo Samuel was having troubles with the team last year and everything like that. Now he's officially looking for a trade. Before last season, Brandon Ayuk was looking for a trade. Then he went out there and had a bad season, so he's probably going to be there next year. The 49ers just had an underwhelming season that was filled with a whole bunch of injuries, and I just don't think Deebo had a good year. He was dropping a lot of passes. He just didn't look like himself. He didn't look like a wide receiver one. He looked a little out of shape. He just didn't look like the Deebo that we've been accustomed to seeing as one of the best wide receivers in the league, and one of like the best like and probably the best Swiss Army knife in the league. He just hasn't looked like that. He didn't look like that last year. I don't know who would trade for him, to be honest with you. I don't know if there have been any rumors about it. I haven't heard anything else about this other than that one development. But there are definitely teams that could, Deebo Samuel, even if he is aging and getting worse, right? Deebo Samuel was not at the point last year where it's just like, oh, he's just the worst football player in the league, right? Like, just because you get older doesn't mean you start dropping balls. There might have just been some locker room issues. There might have been things going on at home. He just might have had a down year. That happened. So Deebo Samuel's still a guy that I'm expecting some teams to have some interest in. With the NFL being the way the NFL is, he'll probably get traded for a 6th-round conditional pick or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll probably be something crazy like that that like I won't even be able to comprehend because my brain is so used to NBA trades that I still don't even get fully like I still don't fully get NFL trades, like, at all. Like, not even a little bit do I get under NFL trades with the picks and everything like that. So, yeah, man, but that's interesting. I want to know what y'all think about whether or not, I want to know what y'all think about who Deebo Samuel is going to play for next year. Will he still be with the 49ers, or will they actually find a trade for him, and what will that trade look like? But then also, what team would you like to see Deebo Samuel play for? And then the final thing with the NFL I want to talk about today is QB Aaron Rodgers is unlikely to return to the Jets next season, as sources tell Adam Schefter. Now, I don't know if I have 1,000 bars for the Jets or 1,000 bars for Aaron Rodgers, so I'm going to say I got 500 bars for both. If you're Aaron freaking Rodgers, no, you know what? Let's start this off from the Jets' perspective because I think I have more to say about Aaron Rodgers. The New York Jets brought Aaron Rodgers in to win a Super Bowl. Simple as that. The New York Jets were a team that for the last couple of years they thought, okay, our defense is good enough, our skill positions for the most part is good enough, all we need is an O-line and a quarterback. Zach Wilson wasn't cutting it. They said, all right, we're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, even though he's been hurt. He wasn't hurt, actually. He's coming off of, he's leaving Green Bay. He has some diva issues in Green Bay, but he just won back-to-back MVPs in 2020, 2021. So we're thinking, oh, man, we lit. Now, his last year in Green Bay wasn't anything spectacular. They missed the playoffs. They got bounced out by the Lions in the final game of the season. So it wasn't anything spectacular. He didn't leave on the highest of high notes or anything like that. But that's Aaron freaking Rodgers, a 4-time MVP and a 1-time Super Bowl winner, even though that Super Bowl was over a decade ago. It happened. Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest arm talents, one of the most talented players to ever touch the NFL. So I'm not necessarily mad at the Jets for going for it. Honestly, the Jets are a poverty franchise. You had to do something, and I did not hate the move at all when it first happened. But here's where the Jets made a mistake to me. When the team didn't look great, you said, okay, we're going to blame everything on Robert Saleh. I was a person that wasn't Superman when you fired Saleh, but I was a person that was like, okay, well, I don't know where you really go from here, though. I was like, I don't know what you guys are really thinking. What do you guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, does this really help you? Because it's not all his fault. Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing well. The offensive line wasn't playing well. The defense wasn't playing as great as the defense had been playing. You bring in a Devontae Adams for an Aaron Rodgers, and Devontae Adams doesn't do a damn thing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had probably the worst season of his career last year. But if you're the Jets, you can't be surprised by that. He's 40 years old, coming off of an ACL tear. He played 4 snaps for you the year before this year, and he tore his Achilles, not his ACL. He tore his Achilles in that game, in the opening game versus the Bills. I remember watching it vividly and everything like that. And it's just like, this is why I have so many more bars for Aaron Rodgers than I do for the Jets, because it's like the Jets, what are you supposed, like, sure, you pander to Aaron Rodgers too much. 100%. Sure, you probably shouldn't have fired Robert Saleh, or at least you shouldn't have blamed him for everything. 100%. But it's like, I can't fault them for going after Aaron Rodgers, because I was a person that also thought, hey, besides the O-line and the quarterback, this is a very good team. Clearly, they needed more than what Aaron Rodgers and the few O-line reinforcements they brought up. They needed more than what they were able to get, right? While they did bolster that O-line a little bit, it's like you get an older guy in like Tyron Smith from the Cowboys who's hurt, and then also it's like he's getting some penalties. Like, it wasn't like a great O-line, but they definitely tried to make it better, right? So I can't fault them for that. This is why I'm saying most of the blame in this whole situation doesn't fall on the Jets. And I don't care if this means Aaron Rodgers retires, Aaron Rodgers is going to a different team. I think it's more likely he retires and goes to a different team, but I don't care which way it means. Either way, this looks worse for Aaron Rodgers to me than it does for the Jets, because the Jets were a team that people like me were expecting to win the division, if not compete for the division and be a wild card team. Like, at the very least, I was like, oh, yeah, for sure, 100%, this team is going to be in the playoffs. Book it. Like, book it right now. They disappointed from jump. Like, the offense didn't look good from jump. The Aaron Rodgers didn't look good from jump. Like, it was, like, never good for the Jets this season. A lot of people jumped off that bandwagon really early in the season. And yeah, man, I just don't know. Like, this is just, the last couple of years have absolutely stained Aaron Rodgers' career, like his legacy. Like, you got the vaccine stuff, which was like controversial. Then you got the stuff where Aaron Rodgers isn't playing well. People are saying that he's like a locker room cancer. Then you got Aaron Rodgers before this year, coming into this year talking about, hey, all that BS that doesn't involve winning, we need to get that out of the locker room. But then you're missing mandatory camps to go to Egypt. Don't think I forgot. I don't care if that was, I'm pretty sure that was this year, but I don't care if it was last year or this year, even though I'm pretty sure it was this year. Don't think I forgot that she was talking about, oh, we need to get all that BS that doesn't have anything to do with winning out of the building, and then you're the first one to miss mandatory minicamp. You are the 40-year-old, 4-time MVP, 1-time Super Bowl winner quarterback. You are supposed to be the leader, the absolute leader of this team that is filled with a whole bunch of guys that are really good at their sport, a whole bunch of guys that are some of the best young players at their position. I don't give a damn how good those young players are. When you are Aaron Rodgers, you're coming to a team that has been that has lacked so much leadership, so much success over it's basically the last 60 to 80 years since Joe Namath was freaking there and they won that one Super Bowl that they won. You have to come in there with a different mindset. You have to come in there and show them what it means to be a winner. Show them what it takes to be a winner. And instead, you came in there and were arguably a bigger distraction than they had ever had with Zach Wilson or with anyone else. Because at least Zach Wilson had some moments in his short, young career when he was starting for the Jets where he said some absolutely idiotic things in press conferences where he didn't take the blame for things that he should have taken the blame for. He was like, I don't feel bad for my defense, blah, 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 blah. We're a team. Sure, he said some idiotic things, but he was never as big of a distraction in the media off the field as Aaron Rodgers was, because nobody was expecting Zach Wilson to do. I wasn't expecting Zach Wilson to do much. I don't know what the Jets were thinking drafting him at like 2 like they did. I don't know what was going through their mind. But me, I never expected that man to be like that. So, like, it was like, sure, they were ass mostly because of him, it looked like. Don't get me wrong. But then when you're Aaron Rodgers and you come in this year and, like, throughout, like, I think it was, like, the first half of the season or something, they had the same record under Zach Wilson the year before that they had under you this year. Something is... And it's just like, I don't even know what to say about it, because it's like, it's not all Aaron Rodgers' fault, but Aaron Rodgers did not come into New York and help anything. He maybe helped Garrett Wilson get a little better. Maybe he helped Garrett Wilson develop some more. He probably helped some of those young guys, those receivers, maybe some of that O-line, maybe some of those coaches develop a little more. Because at the end of the day, he is one of the most talented players in the NFL. But, like, you were the biggest distraction on that team. Whenever something was talked about in the media on that team, we weren't talking about Garrett Wilson. We weren't talking about, aside from the Devontae Adams trade, we weren't talking about Devontae Adams. We weren't talking about Quinnen Williams. We weren't talking about Breece Hall. We were talking about you and how your issues were making this team fail. We're not making this team fail, but you weren't helping this team win. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, bro, I think you just got to hang it up, because you're at a certain point, you're literally just damaging your legacy, and I hate to see that as somebody that grew up watching you. Anyways, man, let me know what y'all think about this. Some interesting NFL news. And some NBA news, we had the Mavs owner come out talking about, oh, well, if you look at Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, blah, 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 those guys all had a certain dedication to work ethic. Cap. Because Kobe and Shaq literally beefed over Shaq's lack of work ethic. Kobe has a famous quote, man, if Shaq would have worked out a little bit, I'd have 12 rings. But y'all see, the Mavs are making themselves look more stupid, worse, less credible, all of those things, day by day as this thing happens. But anyways, man, as this thing continues to go on. But anyways, man, especially the way that Luka and LeBron looked last night, they was out there dominating the Jazz. Granted, it's the Jazz, but still. Anyways, I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this NFL stuff and on the Mavs owner coming out with that stuff and saying all that stuff. But a lot going on right now, all right? I love you and I appreciate y'all. Keep God first. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Helps me out a lot. And hey, man, if you like the videos, tell a friend to watch. And if you have something that you guys want to see, let me know what it is. And I'll do my best to get it out to you, all right? All right.